Hey traders and investors, it's another episode of the market recap session. And just as the title said, what sector is selling off next? Hope you had a good day at the markets. I mean, I surely did. As usual, it's an eventful day at the markets, but yeah, let's see what happens. So, again, today, if you look at the Qs, he actually was a gained, it was a gaining day today on the Qs. You could see it was up by a certain percentage, but I don't think it was felt across the board. And what do I mean by it wasn't felt across the board? So let's just let me get this activated so we can see. I mean, I like to share the raw footage, really, let's go on with it, considering how much of this I will be sharing on a weekly basis. Anyway, so we're up by 0.27%, but the market's still really bad. It's still really bad, especially for the software. And if you look at the video I shared a few days ago, and I said, look, it's not over for the software yet. You could see it was down by another 3% today. And we had quite a few notable ones. If you going to look at some of them, I think I was taking notes actually at some points, and it was just raw. It's quite interesting because AI brought hope, but then of course it came to take it back. I mean, look, Unity has been cut in half and has been cut in half again and again. That's 26%. I think this was after the earnings. It looks like earning was fairly, decent. It wasn't a disaster, but they probably just couldn't answer. They didn't have an answer to whatever AI is going to do. Zillow, this anything, I think Zillow, yeah, there you go. Internet software, you could see this has also been collapsing. As long as it's got AI infected, then, Lyft is another one. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And when I'm talking about sell-off, it's just heavy. Again, look at Lyft right there. Yes, Lyft is transportation, but it's been powered by, we're talking about software powered. There you go. It's been decimated, really. I think Shopify, this is actually an interesting one because we had Shopify, they had a brilliant stellar earnings, but guess what happened after that? It took it all back. It was as bad as 11%. Um, we I kind of came across ADP, which I thought was amazing, but that was taken away again. You can see. So yeah, so you know, and that's quite a few of them. So we're still talking sorry, software on one side, and it's just you could tell the market's just been taking or eating their lunch, and I can see even speaking of ADP, where is it again? Year to date is 15%. And this is much like the story of the other companies. But you look at Apple. Apple is green for the year. Amazon is fairly down. Ooh, that's the whole 12%. Everyone's been trying to find the bottom, but like I said again, I don't want to be a hero. I'll stay out of his way until I see some notable strength. That's Hood. I remember putting a note there in the group, and I shared it with you yesterday. Hood is being decimated. I mean, I did say something about A Lab as well in the group ages ago, while when it was just over 200. And look at it. So sometimes you need to know when to get out. Lab, 21%, that's semiconductors, and what about AEHR, which had a great earnings, got sold off, but this has been powering on 26%. I think they kind of pivoted into AI. So if you look at now, I'm talking about the hardwares now, or the hardware side. This is amazing. I think is it Sarah Lattice Semiconductors as well, LSCC, 16% up. Speaking of the hardware kind of he had a resurgence rather, resurgence on the hardware side. MU back on, SNDK back on. So, these things are amazing and they just stay strong. So, when it comes to AI selling off, of course, people are keep piling money here. And at some point, when money gets too tight, too above here, it's probably going to go elsewhere. But again, this is the ones I'm looking at. But I'm not actually I think they've got way, way too done. So right now, At some point, the valuation will kick in, and then what's going to come next? So I really do not know, and I don't want to say. But again, that's something. And I think, sometimes you got to think, what do you think AI is not going to go for? So I've been talking about soybean for a while now, and I did say, the grains will move, and this just hasn't stopped at all for a while. Look at that. I've been talking about this about I think nine something. Now it's about 1,133. It doesn't move that fast, but it's gradually ticking away. The money's gone off coffee and cocoa, which has been my staple, and I kind of called for a while. Now I'm looking at soybean. I mean, I've been talking about corn as well. I don't know how that performed today, but let's see. I don't think it cooled off. Come on, trading view. Let's have a look. Corn, there you go. Just about down for the day. But look, the trend is still gradually up. Consolidation and then for bigger move. So these are the things I'm looking at anyway, generally. I mean, I'm looking at non-AI things. I mean, look at Upstart. Upstart was decimated. So I'm literally looking at what AI or where AI cannot be decimated. And I think one of the key things I'm talking about is agriculture. I don't think AI would eat into agriculture. So what does that mean? So, I mean, I'm looking at this sector, DBA, which I probably believe will be the next runner. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no way you could decimate food except you get an oversupply. So, there's an area I'm looking at the moment. Probably should be looking at crude oil, but I don't know. I think there's been politics on the fundamental side. So for some reason, I've just been staying off crude oil's way at the moment. I mean, it's been tricking from 56 to 64 now, which has been very efficient in staying up. But somehow I've been staying off the way. Also, we got to understand we have a DXY. We do have a weak dollar, and when you do have a weak dollar, what does that mean? That just means that, sorry, when you do have a weak dollar, that means you've got to think, look at, look, look at equities from outside the US. So, that just becomes easier. They tend to go up. So that's something I'm looking at as well. Well, we've got a weak dollar now, which is good for equities. But once it starts gaining and the equity starts selling off, then you got to start thinking because the dollar is weak now, equities are selling off. At some point, people are going to start piling into dollars. Dollar might go up. And when that goes up, it might start seeing a movement in foreign equities, emerging markets, etc. Right now, emerging markets actually been outperforming the US. Like I mentioned yesterday, one of the positions I put on was SGM, not just yesterday. I think I've had this for a few months since last year, and I'm up 70% on this right now. I mean, it's a levered trade, unfortunately or fortunately for me. So this has been amazing for me. I'm watching this. I wouldn't say like a hawk, but it's been a great performance. So sometimes you've got to be able to look away outside the US and see where the money is really. For me, not just a market timer, sometimes position and position right. So, but generally, I think the market's been but hasn't been great. But also, you've got to understand that February it's a relatively unstable month anyway. So, you've got to use this opportunity to stack on your cash, sometimes stay away from the market, monitor things. This also as a result of bad Shopify results in the market today, it's got, it just cracked as well. So somehow sometimes you just have to be patient, and money managers, fund, Schwab, etc. They have all been collapsing. But again, it's the February's, you might have to give whatever story you want to. It's up to you. Generally, I think sometimes when this is really bad, I just become extremely inactive and position right. But anyway, I want to keep this short because it's very late here now. Until tomorrow, hope you stay safe and we shall catch